Welcome back to the Top 6 show. Football is back. He's back. I'm so happy, Kate and Tom, Henry, Egal. We are waiting for Toon Tactics. We're not too sure where he is. He has got the link. Hopefully he'll be here soon. Hopefully he's well and good. But football is back. We're here to preview the weekend ahead. Some big stories as well. One in the transfer window, one involving Man City. We're going to be delving into all of it. But how are we all? We all well and good?
Glad this international break's done.
International break was the worst international break I ever had. No football.
I don't think it was that bad. I think
watch any of the games.
Story kind of.
I just checked out. Like, I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, but I think that's more telling. The fact that the best part of the international break was the thing that happened on day one of the international break with David Coos. It means it wasn't a very good international break.
Yeah, but it kind of made the first part of it a little bit faster.
Now, do you know what?
Last few days have dragged.
Do you know how this is why it drags so much, right? Even the big European teams in their last two, like Portugal didn't play their first team, as an example. Like all the big nations weren't even playing their best players in the last few games of the Nations League. And I'm looking at it thinking to myself, you can't even, something won't even happen in the game that's interesting, a great goal or a moment. It's been drab, and I can't wait for the football to start. There's loads to sink our teeth into today, so make sure you stay with the Football Terrace. It's the only place to be. It's the only channel to watch at 6 p.m. on a Monday or 6 p.m. on a Thursday. Manchester City, of course, a really good international break for them with the renewal of the contract for Pep Guardiola staying at the club. They have a number of cases that are currently going on. I know one of them was settled in terms of the APT element via the courts. However, the Premier League are pushing on ahead with amendments to that rule as opposed to wiping it out completely, which is what many people believe City want. Now, according to sources, unlawful, Terry. Some elements of it are unlawful, but the overarching rule was agreed by the same legal experts that it is needed and necessary. So the same people that said there are some elements that need changing because they're unlawful, 23 of the 25 points raised, they agree with the Premier League on. So we have to be very, very... So we'll get into that in a little bit. But the story has now emerged that there's a growing confidence amongst some clubs that Man City will fall short in their bid to block the vote for sponsorship rules, understanding that Wolves and now Everton, who last year sided with City, are now, with the amendments being made, are going to back the Premier League. I want to throw this out to Tom first of all. How big a defeat do you think this is for the likes of Manchester City, for the likes of Newcastle, who in many people's eyes have been pushing for these rules to be stripped right back or completely and utterly taken out?
And it seems like a big blow. I mean, obviously, as you said there, Wolves and Everton going back kind of just shows me that it was every club for themselves, because they were only backing it last year because they had PSR concerns. Whereas now that they're out of it, they kind of don't need to back it anymore. So they'd rather just do what's best for them and stop anything going through like that. Everyone kind of, well, the feeling I had anyway was that there was the two big City cases going on. If they got a win in one, the second one's probably going to go quite well for them as well. And whilst, yes, they won the case on the ground of it being unlawful, they've not got what they wanted out of it because the rules aren't gone. The rules are just being amended, and I don't think it'll necessarily change all that much in the landscape in the way that people thought it might do with, Newcastle might be able to go and get as many sponsorships as they want now, and City can go use Abu Dhabi in the same way, and this, that, and that. And I don't think that's going to happen, which it's hard to tell exactly what the impact that's going to be straight away. But I think I'm looking at this one. It proves to me that every club's just out there to look after themselves, and there's no sort of, I can't believe the FA are against us. But if that rule helps us, go for it. Be my guest. But it also, I think it's going to be interesting to see what it's like in conjunction with the 115 case, because I wonder what the ramifications of the APT getting done, getting amended do regards to that. maybe, you know, backlogging, and also in the immediate future for clubs like City and Newcastle, who maybe had sponsorship deals in the pipeline, expecting this APT to fall through, and now they're going to have to go back on them deals and try and find new ways to finance it. So the fact that more clubs are pulling out with support for City's case, I think it's just it's a little bit damning in that sense that clubs weren't in it because City is standing up for what's right. City are doing the right thing here. It was scratch that helps me, so I'll back that. Now that doesn't help me, well, I'll go with the Premier League to try and get in their good books. It's all very political, and it's not what football should really be about, but it is what it is, and I just find it funny that now Everton don't need don't have any PSR concerns at all.
Well, it's all the blue noses. It's all the blue noses that have been saying, "Big up the blue cartel. We're against the red cartel." But you've just joined the red cartel. If the red cartel exists, you've just gone and joined it, my old mate. Lily here says City and Villa's point is that the problem is not necessarily solved by the vote. It is an interim position until the tribunal determination is handed down. It goes on to say that the rules are more relaxed. I think no rules are more relaxed except for shareholder loans. City's point is everyone should just wait for that tribunal. And I get City's point. I absolutely get your point. And she's called the Times reporting inaccurate here. And look, Lily, I understand where you're coming from. I sense that the Premier League believe that when the tribunal information comes down, they're going to be able to keep these rules in place, and there will be some amendments. And the reason I think they believe this is because City won on, and this is when me and Nobbins had this conversation. Technically, City won the court case because City was suing the Premier League on 25 counts, and they won at least one of them. And in the eyes of the law, if you sue someone on 25 counts and win just one, you are the winner of that lawsuit. However, in the reality of the situation, it's about what happens to them APT laws. If by the end of this, they are very similar to what they were, and it stops teams from being able to sponsor their grass £1 billion a season and bring in exorbitant amounts of sponsorship money with much less checks and balances, that essentially the likes of City and everybody that wants that to be in place, you lose that case. Even though technically you won it in the eyes of the law, you have to look at these things through the reality of it. And I think what's telling is that clubs that were backing City a few short months ago are now suddenly on the Premier League's side again. I think that's really significant in this. The one thing I've always said through reading the initial documents that came out is that I don't believe there was going to be I didn't think this was this huge win for City that was going to enable them to suddenly have an extra 2, 3, 4, 500 million pound a year in sponsorship deals. If there might be a slight increase in what they can do, but that was just based on listening to what the tribunal said at the time, that ATP needs to be in place. The majority of the rule is lawful. And so I'm not going to go at City here, but when City said the rule has been deemed unlawful, when that first statement came out, I thought, wow, that is so damning for the Premier League. You then read more and more of it and you're like, oh, so, and Stefan Borson put this out. He's a big City guy. Basically said a few elements of the rule are unlawful, and you could therefore deem that makes the whole law the whole rule unlawful because a few elements are. However, they're relatively easy to amend, right? Because there's small facets of it. And I just think that this situation, I think whether City win or whether City lose, I think a line needs to be drawn under it. There are threats, and City have said, and Fraser puts it out here, that our lawyers have said they will take them to court again. If they make those amendments, though, so you've got to remember 25 points made already. 23 of them you've already lost, so the Premier League doesn't have to touch them. If they make the amendments to those rules to coincide with the feedback from the tribunal, the likelihood of City then overturning those 2 points again and any of the others is so minuscule. I don't see why Manchester City would drop 20 or 30 million pound on that court case when they can invest that into players. I know they're threatening it, but personally, I can't see how they win that battle, especially not if the majority of the Premier League clubs then back these rules again. That's going to stand a long way in the Premier League's favour. Egal, what do you make of all this, mate?
I don't think that. I think this is the tip of the iceberg. I think there's still way more to come, and this is just small wins and losses that either side is trying to peddle as a major story. I think the big story, the 115s, what's going to happen with Man City, that is the major. That is the major battle. This is what I would call as the side battle. This is the chips. This is the salad. This is just the side battle, and this is just to try to distract everyone from the major ongoing dispute that they still have. And whoever comes out on top on this one, it could just start to paint a bigger picture on the other one. So they need to. Man City losing this could be a crucial cog in their future battles also.
No, I understand that. I think you're right. It could be the tip of the iceberg. Sean here says some of APT law is crucial or football is finished. I do agree with that to a certain extent. And I know just Toon Tactics has just arrived here. Welcome to the show. Their owners are the ones that scare me the most in this, because theoretically, if owners could sponsor the clubs whatever they wanted, Newcastle's owners are richer than all of our owners combined, which just means that it would. And again, Newcastle fans, I think in the end, Newcastle fans would care. I think in the short term, they'd love it. But then it would be like, when you played those Football Manager games and you were a kid and you could put the cheat in so your club had £1 billion and could sign every player. And then after a couple of seasons, you're like, well, this is ridiculous because I'm winning every game. It's not competitive anymore. Fraser says the Premier League owe us over 150 million in damages, Terry. Where you got that from? Where's that story? I haven't seen that.
Also, if let's say that the rules are amended and then it's passed through tribunal, damages on what grounds? Because it didn't
reputation.
Oh yeah. Also,
what reputational damages though? Because it would turn out the City did end up.
Well, the only time they could do this to the Premier League is if they prove themselves completely innocent in the 115 case. And then can prove, again, when it comes to damages, you have to prove that what's being said about you has cost you money. So again, when it comes, sometimes people say to me, oh, Terry, this TikToker said X about you. You should sue him. It would be so difficult for me to go to a court of law and say this TikTok was made and it's damaged my life, because I've got to prove that it's damaged me financially. And in fact, this is what the trolls don't understand. You very rarely kill somebody by trolling them, as in their presence on socials. You just enhance it. You make more people watch the shows. So you can't actually prove in a court of law that you've been damaged in that way. Liverpool FC TV says the City PR machine made up all those stories that they had won. They won nothing. Otherwise, APT and the PSR would have been
but both sides peddled the analysis. It was the day that came out, literally within half an hour, you had Man City releasing a statement saying, it was a big thing, this, that, and the other. Premier League coming out and saying it wasn't actually that big. Both sides are painting their narratives. I don't think we're actually going to truly know who won and who lost and yada, yada, yada until everything is done and all the documents are there to be looked at. Because right now it's just PR machines going at each other.
I agree. Even when it comes to the 115 case, to a degree, I mean, based on what Nobbins said, if the Premier League win one of the 115, they've beaten City and proven them to be cheaters. Now, we all know, in reality, that's bullshit. That's all bullshit. You need to wait and see the wood for the trees. If the Premier League say, we beat City in this case, what's their punishment? A £1 million fine and a slap on the wrist. The City won. City won the case, right? It's either the punishment or what happens to these rules afterwards that determine who the actual winners were. I absolutely agree with you, mate. 100%. 100% there. I'm suing Egal for too much waffle. That's from Jimbo.
You shouldn't be suing me. I'm giving you a good breakfast.
Oh, waffle. I wonder what you meant for a second then. My head was gone. Toon Tactics. Obviously, you're a Newcastle fan and your club wants to spend more money. What do you make of this article that's coming out this afternoon from the Times stating that there's a growing confidence that the clubs will vote for the new APT rules to come in, and the likes of Wolves and Everton, who are backing City, are now likely to change their view and support the Premier League? How does this make you sort of feel and see things as a Newcastle fan?
I think in terms of the whole kind of PSR situation, I think there's two distinct but not separate arguments. One is obviously around sustainability and obviously not seeing clubs crash out because of overspending, which all makes sense. I think for the other side, from a Newcastle fan perspective, is the competitive side. And I think it's difficult when, I think from a Newcastle perspective and as a fan, where you do feel as though it's no longer feeling kind of assessing the arguments from both sides, is that yes, the arguments are made that we need to have certain rules and regulations to ensure the sustainability of these clubs. At the same time, though, the sustainability or the same clubs at the top 6 usually, who are usually making the Champions Leagues, are the ones who are seeing consistently benefit from these things. I think also that, and that seems to be the end result of it. I do feel, though, not necessarily there's a conspiracy amongst certain clubs, elite clubs. I do think there are clubs and parties who have mutual interests. I think it's difficult to say whether I'm an owner of Liverpool, owner of Arsenal, owner of Man City or any other clubs, that I'm overly worried about what happens to Leyton Orient if they overspend, or I'm more worried about Nottingham Forest if they get their transfers wrong, and are they going to be, are they going to be bankrupt? I don't believe in that. I think if you're the owner of Liverpool, your interests are for Liverpool. And so when they bring in these rules and regulations and they say, it's the good of you, it's for your benefit, I don't believe that. And as a Newcastle fan, I wasn't necessarily looking at these APT case as a thing of just for what's happening for Man City, but I was told, and from kind of speaking to Newcastle fans who have been really involved in the case, that what evidence is going to be brought from this case will have an impact on Newcastle. So that's to do with the emails that were sent, where within 5 days of the Newcastle takeover, there was a CEO who hasn't been named, but from one of the top clubs there, who had gathered around 10 to 11 other clubs to do something in regards to, we've got to do something around the clubs that are owned by the Gulf state. That's a conspiracy, just in that email. And so it's that kind of stuff where I begin to feel that when you tell me as a fan, we're here to do these regulations and things for your benefit, to protect you, and then I see these type of emails, I see certain types of behaviors. Again, one last point, for instance, when we did have,
by the way,
pardon me,
has the email been confirmed? Because that's a big accusation, obviously.
It's not an accusation. If you observe the court case, it was evidence that was given into that court case. It was given by Man City and approved by the court, so it can be used in any court.
Do you know what I love about that? Do you know what I like about the email? Is this email that City found, they absolutely all believe in. The emails that have been leaked about their club, they're all made up. They're all doctored on the on Photoshop.
Yeah,
but
maybe those same emails might be used in their case. We never know. I can only talk about the case that was in the court.
On your point, though, do you know what's interesting about it? I understand where you're coming from, and there's two sides to this I want to ask you about.
Yeah,
the element of checks and balances, but it was hacked, Terry. I'll say it was real then.
Exactly.
Again,
it can't be used in court, but we all know what we saw. We all know what we read.
This is it. Like, if someone breaks into my house to rob me, and it turns out I've got a Fritzl dungeon where I keep my children, just because they've broken illegally doesn't mean I haven't got a Fritzl dungeon. It doesn't mean doesn't make me an okay person. It's the argument shouldn't be it was hacked. Like, the better argument is it ain't. What I was going to say to you is this. I think the idea of checks and balances is key. My brothers are Orient fans, 2 of them. And they had a billionaire that took over them, started spending loads, and then pulled the money away and almost put the club out of business, as an example. I think we could do something better than we have right now. I always feel like we should get these owners to put their money where their mouth is and essentially say, how much do you want to invest in terms of salaries and transfers over the next 5 years? Let's just say your owner says £3 billion. Cool. You can spend 3 billion, but you've got to put 3 billion pound into a bond that the Premier League keeps hold of. Should you decide to walk away, should you decide to not put any more money in, there is money there that will be given to Newcastle to essentially taper themselves out of that level of spending, so you can pay off the salaries of the players that might. Do you get where I'm? So that you're not left hung and dry.
Can I add to that, Terry? Because I've heard you mention that one before. If I was to say, like, because it's to do with sustainability, isn't it? And maybe if you can, because I had an idea around that in terms of if you add, say, 10% of that 3 billion, you invest in your community, you invest into projects, footballing projects, academies, or whatever in your community. So the idea is that owner is more rooted into that community, because that whole idea is around sustainability. And I think you also made one case around, I think for Man United, you have to, for instance, because of where you are, open your books more than other clubs because you're a publicly owned club. So, for instance, one of the incentives is that we open our books as part of being able to therefore spend more money. You then give more incentives. You're therefore more transparent, and hopefully then it adds to the sustainability of things.
Yeah, so I totally understand that. And I've always said I'm a supporter of FFP, but I understand there's room for amendment because times change. I don't buy into this nonsense of, we have to change it now because we've got state-owned clubs. Well, put a rule in place that says states can't own football clubs, or limit how rich somebody could be. I there's a way you could do it where you just stop that from happening. I do think there's got to be checks and balances. You'll never get that voted in, though, because there are too many of these owners that will not want to put their money where their mouth is, as an example. The problem you then have is the other side of it then is this. When Newcastle's owners come into the Premier League, they knew the rules existed already, or the majority of the FFP rules existed, not the APT, but the majority of the rules. What I don't like is we're going to join knowing that we're limited to how much we can invest, but then start to sue the Premier League, or not that Newcastle have done this, I'm speaking hypothetically. I'm then going to sue and try and get all the rules changed because you know what you've kind of signed up to in that regard. So I see it from that perspective.
But it should be flexible, because people create rules and change laws all the time, not just in football, but in other areas of life. Things evolve, things change, and we realize those rules no longer work no more,
I agree.
or aren't efficient for that time. So, we've had Brexit, for instance, and other things. People did that. People vote for things again. People look to change rules. If you put people in a bind where you can't do that, I think that's the part that's wrong. I think I think there's clubs that sold into the idea of the Premier League, but then quickly found out that there are interest groups. There are certain clubs that share similar interests and have reasons. And I feel like under the guise of, we are doing this for your benefit, put those rules in. And then I think those clubs found out they're not. Case in point, Nottingham Forest.
But then
where essentially their owners putting his middle finger up to the Premier League, and he's doing his thing. He's going hard on, because he's realizing that if you get promoted into Premier League, you end up, if you just follow the rules the way they want you to follow, you end up getting relegated anyway. So you have to be aggressive in the market.
But is there not an argument the other way? So I hear what you're saying, where FFP has led to clubs that share similar interests, and the idea is that it's the clubs.
No, the clubs led to similar interests led to the FFP. The other way around.
But that's also a byproduct of it. So now, in the same way, clubs of a similar interest want to get rid of FFP because their interests and what they want to achieve, they could go on to go boom without it, in the same way that other clubs benefited from it.
And I think there has to be checks and balances, and I always think there should be room for amendments. I've never been against that. And I understand that a lot of people say the rules were amended 5 days after Newcastle's takeover. But this is what I find interesting about it, is even if Arsenal's owners wanted to be even if they wanted to be as ambitious as Newcastle's owners, if it was unlimited spending, there's nothing the Cronkies could do, nothing they could do to spend like Newcastle's owners or Man City's owners. In fact, they're not even as rich as Ineos. There's a big gulf in. I know the family of the Cronkies are worth money through Walmart and stuff, but people have got to understand that owning an organization that's worth hundreds of billions doesn't mean you've got hundreds of billions of cash you can just spend. Like, the asset rich versus cash rich is very different.
Yeah, but I don't.
I also look at it. So I also look at it from the other side as well. So basically, if we let everybody just spend whatever they want, then a club like Brighton or a club like Forest will only ever get back to the top if they get practically state-owned. Which there's only a limited amount of clubs that could become state-owned, even, because that's why I think there has to be checks and balances. I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to invest more. Yeah. And the reason what I find interesting is that some will look at it and say, but the Newcastle and the City owners are just doing what they can to make their club better and protect their club. But so are the other teams, because some of these and some will say these billionaires don't care and they don't spend enough. Yeah. But at the same time, they just although they're billionaires and they're rich to us,
Yeah.
Your owners are so rich, they make
Yeah.
the rest of our owners look poor on a perspective level. So
But-
I do get it from both sides, but I think there has to be room for amendments. I'm totally in agreement with that.
And I also want to mention
I agree
one
with the
more
room
thing.
for amendments, but from Newcastle's point of view, and as a fan, is that no, the owners don't want to spend all the. We understand if you just do that, you ruin the whole competitive nature of football and the ecosystem of the football itself. So that's not what Newcastle's aim is. Newcastle's owners' aim is to be able to compete, and they're being prevented from doing that at the moment as they see it. In terms of Brighton, and I know that they're a good example. How many times have my club, Chelsea, Arsenal, and all of that took away their scouts, their recruitment, their directors, their players year upon year? And I've seen on these panels and others, people laugh at the club as a result of it, because they're not doing so well this year. People forgetting that they've taken their managers, they've taken their directors, they've taken their players, they've taken their their recruitments, their scouts, and everything else, because Brighton don't have the capability to compete with them with wages and everything else. They build up those players constantly. I think Brighton's a case in point to show that this current PSR doesn't work, even if you do as well as Brighton do in terms of running your club. No matter what you do, the bigger clubs, the legacy clubs, the inherited clubs are constantly going to take things from you.
I appreciate that. The thing is, though, even if there was unlimited spending, Brighton's owners are not wealthy enough to actually spend. Like, they're rich, but I don't even know if they're billionaires, to be honest with you.
But that's the model, Terry.
The other side of the conversation, which I think is really important, is now just eluded in my head since Egal spoke. That's not your fault. It threw me on what you said. You've got the Brighton side of things. There's a comment that came through. No, we don't know what everybody's aim is. What was I gonna move on to? Literally, my brain just, you ever done that where your brain just goes blank when you're about to say something?
Think of something else.
Can I say something while you're
you move on, and I'll remember what it is I'm gonna say. Go on.
I just Toon Tactics. I think you're coming from a position like, oh, these bigger clubs are holding us back, but also it's partially because of the Chelseas and the Man Cities that your owners are even looking at Newcastle as an ambitious project that they can get started with, because they've seen the successes of those clubs. They're like, hey, this is something that we could potentially take over and be successful from. They're not looking obviously at Arsenal, Liverpool, and Manchester United as an example, but they're looking at Man City and they're looking at Chelsea, and they're saying it is feasible, it is possible, and it just might take time. Don't think that Chelsea and Man City got to this level immediately. It took them a long time.
Well, that was what you remind me of what I was going to say. The one thing I always say about FFP, PSR, ATP and I know that there's been amendments to it, but as a general rule, and it's always been my challenge to City fans who say it's bad and it holds us back. City have become the best team in the world. If they didn't cheat, which most Newcastle, most City, most Everton, most Villa fans at the moment agree they didn't, if they didn't cheat to get where they are, to go from being a very small team that doesn't win anything to within 10 years being the best team in the world, my argument is I don't see how FFP stops you from growing.
My argument would be that regulations, and the more regulations you have, whether it's in football, in economies, in history, don't stimulate growth. There isn't evidence of that. In fact, most arguments are that, there's two arguments. You need regulations to make what you've created, that particular industry, sustainable and protected. But if you have too many regulations, you then stop growth. And so therefore you do need to deregulate in order, whether it's to stimulate economies, whether it's to now in this conversation to actually stimulate the growth of other clubs. And it's more difficult in a football environment. I know that we've kind of said before that, it's a democratic process, but it isn't really. Well, it is, but the thing is, as long as people have their own interest, it then causes a situation where regulations are brought into place to prevent other clubs from growing. When we had Dan Ashworth, and I'll finish it on this, he whispered the name Ruben Neves, and within a month, there was a number of elite clubs here who called for a vote on whether you should have multi-club ownership. And we were only able to win that particular vote by one club, that being Nottingham Forest. So if that's not an example of clubs in the upper echelons trying to prevent Newcastle from growing and other clubs who have multi-club ownership from growing, I don't know what is. I'm
But one
not asking
second.
for FFP or for
But
PSR
surely that's not right.
to be stopped. What I'm asking for is for there not to be a view that it's necessarily not necessarily perfect, but it's run to
No,
help
but
and to help others grow. I think that's not
But you
true.
even have to agree with me here that that's kind of dodgy. How can they go sign Ruben Neves for that club over there in
You
Saudi?
have to define
Arabia?
dodgy. If it's
And
not
then
illegal,
no.
if
But
there's
hear me out.
multi-club ownership, then it's not
Hear me
dodgy,
out.
is it?
Hear me out. How can your club in another country sign a player, pay a ridiculous amount of money, and then loan him to you directly? That's kind of dodgy.
Have we done that?
No, but that's what you
Is
guys
that
wanted
what's
to do.
happened?
No,
You've
but that's what
created
they
a
wanted to do.
hypothetical that has not happened.
No, but you said Ruben Neves,
So
hence why I mentioned Ruben
okay,
Neves as an example.
so
He
when
went to a
those
Saudi
said
Arabian
clubs,
club.
when those Saudi clubs bought players from Liverpool, when they bought players from Liverpool for being on the rest, when they bought clubs from players from Chelsea and helped your transfer budgets, that was okay. But when Newcastle want to loan a player from said clubs, you're telling me it's dodgy.
It is because when you sign a
Okay.
player, you
I hear you.
sign them with the hopes of having them
Yeah.
playing for your team, especially as good as Ruben.
You
Neves
don't see
is.
the fault in the logic.
Now,
Everything I've
now,
just
if
explained to
Ruben
you.
Neves was going
Egal,
to a team,
Egal, can I just jump in for a second? Where I think Egal would have a point is if a team in Saudi bought Ruben Neves for £40 million, which helped Wolves, paid him 200 grand a week, and then loaned him to Newcastle, and Newcastle kept him for 4 years, and we're only paying 10%, 20% of his salary. So what this, I think, is where balance is needed. I understand in life sometimes when you find a loophole or you find you find an angle, and there's always an angle in life. Oh, do you know what? I can make a bit of extra money this. How many of you at work have found a way of getting more out of the business with doing a bit less work? And it doesn't take long for your bosses to cotton on, and they bring in new procedures and processes to make you still work harder or stop you cutting that corner, as an example. So this goes on everywhere, I think. But this is where I think there has to be fairness, but also checks and balances. So for Ruben Neves to go to Saudi, to be loaned straight back to Newcastle at no real cost to Newcastle, you could look at that and go, they are circumventing the FFP and PSR rules.
Okay, but that's a hypothetical. That's a hypothetical.
I agree. I agree,
Yeah.
and that hasn't happened. So, but I don't think Newcastle 6 months later loaning Ruben Neves or buying Ruben Neves at a cheaper rate is dodgy. In the same way that it wasn't dodgy that Ajax went and got Henderson for free after a big money move that he got to Saudi, and he realized that he didn't want to be there anymore. I think if they were state owned, everybody would have a problem with that. If Ajax was state owned, they would have been, this is dodgy, this isn't right. So I think balance needs to be applied here, personally. But I think,
if anything, Newcastle have shown themselves, especially our owners, by buying your players, said clubs, that we're actually doing the opposite. We're buying your players when nobody wanted Fabinho for 40 million, when nobody wanted Koulibaly for however much we bought them for. We didn't have to do that. We weren't buying we sold St. Maximin for 20, 25 million when everyone expected that we'd do it for 40 million. What has happened, and credit to you, Terry, for this, is where we had a situation of this last transfer window where people started selling their academy players to one another, Liverpool, Chelsea, Aston Villa and others, for 20, 30, 40 million. And the moment it was whispered that Newcastle might be doing a deal with Everton over Minte, that's when the Premier League started saying, we're going to investigate the situation around academy players being sold to one another. That's where I, as a Newcastle fan, seeing that kind of behavior from the Premier League, start to think.
But Newcastle still done one of them deals.
No, we didn't.
You did. Nottingham Forest. You sold Elliot Anderson for 35 million. But
he's worth 30 million.
But you bought Vlachodimos for 20 odd. He wasn't even played a game for it. Vlachodimos, the Greek
he's not
keeper.
An academy player, is he? I'm talking about
but
academy players.
It didn't have to just be academy players. Academy players were more useful for it because it was more pure profit.
But my those deals, academy
Newcastle
players.
Still done that deal.
Yeah, my context was academy players.
Have anyone, all the things that were done, have any of those players that have been sold for relatively high sums between clubs, academies, have any of them played games this season yet? Because Chelsea dropped like 20 million, didn't they, on that Villa player? Has he played a game for Chelsea yet?
Elliot Anderson's playing, but he's not an academy player.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, I
He's
didn't
a
really
first
think
team
about
player.
it. No, I agree. Look, I think I think there's an element here.
The only one who has is the guy who went from Aston Villa to Everton. Tim.
I just want to mention one thing. Don't paint it that the Saudi Arabian clubs purchasing a bunch of Premier League stars to get more notoriety and viewership to their respective league, as them doing charity work for the league and buying players from them.
Don't paint it that Newcastle are buying loan players from Saudi Arabia and trying to get dodgy deals and getting £40 million. That hasn't happened. What has happened is they bought players from you.
You mentioned Ruben Neves. I didn't start the conversation with Ruben Neves.
You're not listening to the conversation. I mentioned Ruben Neves in an example to show you that even if Newcastle, for instance, think of an idea of how they can at least move smartly in the market, the Premier League and the people that are pressurizing them are onto them and are creating rules. There was a whole vote that was cast within a month on multi-club ownership. That hasn't been done before. Telegraph named us as the leaders of the rebellion. As a result of that, we only won that vote by one club, Nottingham Forest. You don't think there's anything wrong with that? You don't think there's an issue with that?
I've never seen another club purchase a player and in the same window have that same player linked on a loan to their partner club. That is slightly.
We haven't purchased it. We haven't linked.
No, but you were linked to him the same window which he moved.
Do you want to know why I'm not? Do you want to know why I'm not dead set against? Do you want to know why I'm not dead set against it though? Man United have had relationships for years. For instance, with clubs like Royal Antwerp in Belgium, and we did this for a while in the late 90s, early noughties, where what we were doing is we couldn't get those young. We had a number of young Brazilian players. Maybe more noughties than 90s, to be fair. The Silver Twins, there was a player called Rodrigo Pozibon and a few others that got into the first team. Others weren't good enough. Where what we had to do is we couldn't get them into the UK. They couldn't get visas to come and play here, but they could in Belgium. So we had a relationship. We didn't own them, but a feeder club relationship where United took care of a lot of the costs to get these players over. They lived in Belgium. They trained with Royal Antwerp. And when they'd done a certain amount of years and they then could apply for a visa to come play in England, they would come across to our academy. Now, again, there was never against the rules. Multiple clubs did it. It's why I don't have an issue with the multi-club ruling system. I think there are elements they need to look at. And sometimes the authorities won't know ahead of time what rules people are going to try and flaunt, essentially. But I don't necessarily think what's being suggested here is dodgy. I wouldn't personally call it. I went work permit, sorry, not a visa. Same difference. So we all know what I meant on that. Let's go to some of these super chats here. It says, it's funny Newcastle fans have problems with the Premier League for unfair treatment, but no problem using money. The Premier League committed money for people committing human rights crimes. Oh, okay.
What do we do? What is that?
Yeah, I mean, look, you guys can have those debates amongst yourselves here. If all Saudi clubs come under FFP and PSR, then people won't have these questions.
I'm not. What's the question? Sorry, about PSR.
It says, if all Saudi clubs come under FFP and PSR, then people won't have these questions.
Okay.
Make a reasonable cost cap limit for FFP, like in F1, and it's solved.
That there's just a general problem with that in the sense of F1 is a sport where every team is supposed to start on an equal footing. Every team is supposed to be equal, and it comes down to how you develop your car. Whereas football is inherently not an equal sport. All 20 teams can't have an equal team.
And I don't want it to be either. And I'll tell you why I don't want it to be. Because my football club, I know we've had about 11 years, for 140 plus years, has made the right decisions more often than not to be who we are. And that's the only other thing I think about. The only other element, now I'm not against it. You'll never find a video of me moaning about Newcastle's takeover. Go back and watch them. I was happy for them. I've never slagged off the Abu Dhabi owning City. I've never said, oh my God, they just spend all this money. You've never seen me say that. Never happened. Didn't do it with Chelsea in the noughties either. What I do understand, though, is how some fans look at it. Some fans will look at it of certain clubs and go, it's 150 years it took us to build up to be this big. And they do get a little pissed off when a rich owner comes along and says, I'm going to fast track that within a decade. I can understand how some people push back against that as well. But it all depends on what side of the fence you sit on.
Yeah, because the reverse is you can only allow your legacy inheritance to go so far. I mean, you've mentioned, Terry, obviously, Arsenal, Newcastle, Man United, the opposite problem. You guys had too much money to spend, and it made things worse for you. We had no money to spend, and it made things worse for us.
Yeah.
And in terms of Man United, how long can you say, well, we're Man United, therefore PSR should work in our, or not say in that sense, but like that simplistic sense. But then, yes, we should be able to build how we are. All it does is continue the same wheel, which is the same clubs in the same positions, qualifying for the same competitions. How many other outside clubs have won the domestic trophies? How many outside clubs have been in the Champions League? Not many. You guys can say with confidence that, for instance, Aston Villa at the end are going to fall off because they haven't been at this race for a long time. So there's got to be a way to improve that competition is what I'm saying. I'm not saying do away with FFP or PSR. None of those things are saying to me. But if the same clubs are doing the same thing, no matter how much mistakes they make financially, and Newcastle make one, which was this transfer window, we were 70 million over the threshold, where we were forced to sell our players. That's our fault, but we're 70 million over the threshold. But we hear you guys are 300 million, a billion. Some of you are in debts and stuff like that. And it's okay. There's a problem there for us that we kind of see.
Oh, by the way,
there's never going to be parity in football. This is not basketball in the NBA where it's a league, where it's controlled by the league and every team is the same. There's
I'm not
relegation.
asking for parity. I'm asking for the right to compete.
You're asking for parity.
No,
I'm asking
to compete.
My
owners can compete with your owners, and they're not being able to do that under the current rules.
Because you don't make the same level of income as other teams.
We are trying to. That's the problem. We are trying to, but the rules and regulations that are coming in aren't allowing us to do that.
What do you mean they're not allowing you? When you say
we just had a conversation about APT.
How are you going to increase your bottom line to that level without having somebody giving you more money than you're deserving of your shirt deal?
How do you know what we're deserving of? Are you the person that's going to regulate that? We're literally having a conversation about APT. We've literally just having a conversation about APT, which Man City won, and this is already telling you that's unlawful. You're not reading that. This is literally unlawful, and that's why we're changing it. I've literally just told you that multi-club ownership, which has been okay, which has been fine until Newcastle got involved, was okay with the Premier League, and then there was a whole vote over it. So
you think it's perfectly fine if Newcastle agree a shirt deal that's more than Tottenham?
That's not what I've said.
You think that's perfectly fine?
That's not what I've said. It's like you're not listening to what I'm saying to you.
Egal, let me jump in here because I'm listening to both of you, and I think you both make some good points. I think Toon Tactics would think it would be strange if Newcastle got a shirt sponsorship deal that was Man United is the biggest in England. I think it's 60 million a year. If they landed one that was 350 million pound a year, he'd be like, that seems a bit off.
Yeah.
However, I don't know what their current deal is. Say it's 20 million pound. Them getting a deal that comes through at 35 million. Okay, as an example. But the rationale is, a company in Saudi, and we know that Saudi are doing this. They're doing it with the boxing, like Riyadh season. Maybe they're sponsored by Riyadh season, as in the brand of Riyadh season, because they want to get more eyes on that. And they believe that Newcastle being in the Prem and with the push from the Saudis, that is going to be more valuable to them because the Saudi people and everybody that's interested in that part of the world is fluctuating to that club. There's an argument for them to get a bigger and more increased sponsorship deal because of who your owners hold weight at the end of the day. Like there was a time when Man United were linked to if Elon Musk bought Brighton tomorrow, it stands to reason with Elon Musk's contacts, because we're more familiar with who he is, that lots of people around the world will suddenly have more eyes on Brighton. Therefore, you could argue sponsoring Brighton, and yes, they might not get 80 million a year, but you could make an argument for saying, well, 50 million a year. And there's going to be all these billionaires in America that are going to, get behind the Premier League brand, but they're going to push Brighton as a team that they're all loving. And whenever any of these delegates visit the UK, and I know they're not liked by everybody, but it might be, YouTubers that he's friendly with, like Joe Rogan or that Aidan Ross, right through to the president. They're not going to be visiting Old Trafford or the Emirates or the Etihad. They're going to be going down to the Amex Arena and putting more eyes on it. And I think that element I am absolutely in agreement with when it comes to Man City and Newcastle. All we have to protect against is that Newcastle can't sponsor every blade of grass £1 billion a season, because then no one can compete with them, and you create a gulf that has never been seen before in football. I think but however, people should be rewarded for their success. The better they do, the more their owners want to invest. There's got to be room for that as well. I think there is a balance here that is needed. And I think the problem is people that maybe don't have the owners that would spend. I've said it before. The ATP rules changing, I think, would help Man United. I think Ineos would jump at the chance to pump more money into the football club. Like Ineos are worth they make hundreds of billions in terms of turnover. They're worth billions. I think they would pump in the money and pay off their debts almost instantly and then buy players if they could. But the rules are stopping them as well. Let's have a look at some of these questions here. Question, if Elon Musk can buy a restaurant chain in the UK and invest 10 billion without profit to blow anyone else, why can't Newcastle? That isn't necessarily true. There are competition laws that exist in business in the UK that stop certain companies having too much of a majority. Now, it doesn't always work out, but there are definitely rules in place around competition laws in the UK to do with business, and they're more strict than in sport. So
do they regulate shirt deals?
No, I mean, not every business has shirt deals, is it? Does it, Egal?
I mean, like, would they regulate? Would that be something that would fall under regulation? Like the type of sponsorships you get?
I'll give you an example. So Elon Musk could probably buy a chain of restaurants and grow them and move them into a certain area. But if you look at the energy industry as an example, there's been certain mergers and takeovers have not been allowed to go through because the UK government has deemed that a small group of people would have too much. I mean, I still think too many have too much control and power, but they've deemed that too many people will have this. There was a Man United almost got taken over in the 90s by B Sky B and the group that owned the Sun, Rupert Murdoch. But it was deemed, there were certain rules that stopped it from going through. I didn't think it was fair. And so these things do exist in business as well. So and they've been around a while. Viewers, make sure you hit the like button and please make sure you subscribe to the Football Terrace. A great debate. Absolutely loved it. We want to move on to some of the football that's coming back this weekend. So make sure you stay with us, people. Before we go into that, I want to ask about Arsenal here. Arsenal linked with a Villarreal player today. I mean, you linked to a lot of players at the moment, Egal. What do you make of this latest link to I think he's a left midfielder from Villarreal. Is it Álex? I can't pronounce it. Is it Brenner? I don't know who he is. Talk to me.
Terry, I'm looking at all these transfer links and I'm saying to myself, nothing seems like it's a game changer or a needle mover. I don't know enough about this guy to be putting him down, but are we not going to look for a striker? Are we not going to look for somebody who is a little bit more of a higher profile name that could come in and instantly give us impact? I don't know how good this guy is. Maybe he could, maybe he couldn't. But overall, it is a gamble. And I don't know how much money we'd be looking to spend. I would go out and try to go and get one of these strikers that are on the market that we've been going after, maybe a Gyokeres. And if you can't get Gyokeres, then go for a Lookman or something. Get somebody who's going to come into this team, play on the wing, and give us an impact. That's what I'm going for.
Is that what Arteta wants, though? Are you sure Arteta will be fine on signing the centre back?
We were linked to Lookman in the summer.
This Baena, he plays on the wing, but he's the top assister in all the 5 leagues in Europe. So he's going to be an upgrade on Martinelli. He is.
Has he got more assists than Salah?
Last season, top assister in Europe's top 5 leagues. Google it.
That's the mad stat for me.
Stat check, mate. My stats are normally wrong, so I might have dreamt it, but I'm sure I heard that.
So you tell me, is this guy, would he be the equivalent to when Liverpool made the signing for Luis Diaz? Would he make that kind of impact, you think?
Do I think?
Yeah.
Well, he's an upgrade on Martinelli, and that's what you need. You need upgrade on your players. You need a striker more than you need the winger, in my opinion. But this guy's going to be an upgrade in your team.
Is he very direct? How does he play?
Creative winger.
Go on, Henry, sorry.
He's basically a creative winger. He's not like a pace merchant like Martinelli you've got. I've been reading like the Team Talk report basically saying that Arsenal are looking to upgrade the left-hand side because they want more consistency. Kate is right in what she's saying. You do need someone on that left-hand side who can consistently give you,
I agree,
7, 8 out of 10s. You know, Luis Diaz didn't walk into Liverpool and be like an unbelievable success. I think this season's been his standout.
When he first joined.
He was good.
Yeah, they've had a bit of a wobble in between, and now he's kind of come out at the end of that wobble. I think your front three, you've got Saka on the right, and the other 2 positions is what you need to fix. Like you would heavily linked with Nico Williams in the summer. Now you're heavily linked with Isak and Gyokeres. Like Arteta, and then before that, Benjamin Sesko. So like you're going to be linked with every single winger and striker between now and the summer. There's going to be
That's
links coming
why
at a relentless pace.
That's why I don't think I honestly don't trust Arsenal to go out in the summer. I mean, in the January window and make major moves. Just based on what I've seen from this club in the last couple years, I've seen us be very close and go and get make a major bid for Caicedo and then end up with Jorginho. I've seen us go and make bids for Mudryk and end up with Leandro Trossard, which was a good signing, but in the same sense, we still had the money there to go do more, and we just chose not to. I think the Cronkies have given Arsenal the green light to go make big money signings, but we've gone for cheaper deals. And we've not gone and fulfilled every single area we could have in the past. And I just think that might be the same in this window. I think they're going to look at it and kick the can down to the summer again. It's very underwhelming.
Have you new sporting director yet?
No.
So
they're looking at Luis Campos, aren't they?
Right now, we're linked to like
that
three
on the sporting
people.
director.
Edu's second in command is basically taking over in the short term. And
he's not left yet, though, is he?
They're looking at several people.
Egal, do I sense that you're losing a little bit of faith in Mikel Arteta?
It's not only Arteta. It's more the fact that nothing is guaranteed in sports. I've seen teams go from being one of the best team to dropping off and being irrelevant. And I'm more concerned that the Arsenal Football Club could go to that extent. I don't want that to happen to us. So I want
based on what? Sorry to stop you. What are you seeing that makes you think that you could go back to being irrelevant?
I'm seeing Chelsea going window after window, signing 3-4 players. I'm seeing Manchester United year after year trying to make improvements in the window. I'm seeing Man City winning 4 leagues in the title. I'm seeing Liverpool change their manager, not signing a single person and catching up to us. Yeah, I need Arsenal to show some urgency in this January window and maybe go sign one player that's going to make a difference. And I don't have my full faith that my club will do that.
Yeah, but this guy right here, by the way,
half it's about being smart.
100 million.
Yeah, Gyokeres. I'll be
honest with you, the Gyokeres link and this one today for this. I know he's got a lot of assists. I think they're both absolute bullshit. I don't think they're happening in any way.
It's also not
team football. That's the thing.
It's not the type of winger that Arsenal need with the current makeup of the front line. Because if you had a creative winger, and then Saka in the Arsenal team right now is doing a lot of the creative work, then you've basically just created a massive hub of creativity to go forward to Kai Havertz, and if not Kai Havertz, then Jesus.
As much as I would want Brahim Diaz or somebody, another player who could play on the wing. That's solid on the wing. Like Brahim Diaz comes in, I think he's more of an upgrade than majority of the.
But Brahim Diaz is higher up the pecking order than Gula. Gula's not getting enough Diaz or Bellingham. He will go out on loan to probably Germany for 18 months, and by the time
they're not letting him go for permanent. There's no point Arsenal. You're not where you were 4 years ago. There's no point you doing the development. There is no point you doing Madrid's development for them for a young kid. I think you lot should be looking at players like Viktor, players like Mbeumo, players who are good players, can score goals, probably won't mind for a period of time being on the bench at Arsenal, can step in and play to a high level when needed. I think I look at Goulet, excellent young player, but he's completely and utterly not what you need. The link today, I'll be honest with you, I saw it, I've read through it since you guys have been talking. I don't see it. I just don't see it being a needle mover for Arsenal. And I think if you're going to buy squad players, buy them from the Premier League, buy them a bit more experienced, like you did with. I know he's had a bad few weeks, but like you did with Trossard a few summers ago. Right. Rice is a star player.
Rice cost 105 million. We're not talking about those type of signings here.
Yeah, that's what you should be looking at Arsenal.
Can I say one more thing, Terry?
On Arsenal, I want to ask you, why do you sound so broken when it comes to your club at the moment? You sound a bit broken.
I just need them to make me happy. I need them to go have a good performance, have a good result,
Happy New Year.
make me believe that you guys can turn this around, because the results and the performances have not been matching up. There's been games where we've played well and we've not gotten the results. There's been games where we've not played well and we haven't gotten the results. But I just need better performances from these guys, and I'm hopeful that Martin Odegaard can turn around our season. I think Martin Odegaard's creativity has been key. But the main things that I want us to improve on: one, I want Arteta to continue to find ways to get this team to be better creatively, find better ways to score goals. I need our team to show the defensive nous that they've had over the last year, because last year, Terry, we were so good defensively. This year, we kind of have not been as good, and I'm looking at it as defense is something that year to year can slightly differ and change based on how you play offensively. So we need to get back to our best offensively, and I think that will improve the whole team. And it's not a violin, Kate. Even though I'm kind of sad right now, it's because my expectation is to try to win the league, not to be sitting here laughing when my team is in 10th.
Egal, can I ask you something? Right, Forest is going to be. I think it's a very, very difficult game for you guys. I've seen a lot of guys on Twitter saying that you're going to bounce back, do them 3 or 4-0. I think this game, there is an enormous amount of pressure on Arsenal. You play before City, you play before Liverpool. Those two clubs at the moment are in a more comfortable position in the league than where you are.
Facts.
And we've seen Forest this season. You know, Newcastle took them to penalties in the Cup. They beat Liverpool at Anfield. They're going to be going in confident. And Nuno Espirito Santo has got this thing, like he did it under Wolves where he beat City a couple of times. If you lose or draw, let's say you draw this weekend and Liverpool win, are you saying that you're out of the title race? Because you'd be something like 11 points behind by then.
Henry, it's not only about the 3 points. I need to see a result where the performance matches the results. I need to start seeing us not only win the game, but perform well. Because we're at a point in the season where we can't just say, oh, you just need to win. We need to start seeing good performances. We need to start seeing better attacking play. We need to start seeing the midfield and the attack holding onto the ball a little bit better than we have been. And I do think with Martin Odegaard being there, we will play better offensively. We will be more front
foot. You can't put all that on one player, Egal.
No. 1 second. He is the best creative player in the league. Now that Kevin De Bruyne has been out, let's be honest. Statistically, the guy has been injured for half the season.
Salah would argue differently.
1 second. He's been injured. 1 second.
10 assists this season might argue
He's been injured. He's been injured for a big portion of the season, and he still has the most created chances in the league. This is not a fake stat. I'm literally telling you the actual stat.
Yeah, he's got the most big chances created.
So when it comes to Martin Odegaard being back, he's a game changer for us. He offers us another goal scorer in the midfield. He holds on to the ball. He's our safety blanket whenever anybody needs anything, and he leads the press. This guy being back.
A bad thing though. That you're so reliant on him.
Every great team has over reliance on their great players. Simple. Now Arsenal doing it is no different to any other player or any other team relying on their best players over the decades of football. I don't think there's anything bad about relying on some of your best players and relying on one of the best players in the league in his position.
Do you think that's why we're looking at
good? And now that he's back, you've seen what he could create in the Chelsea game. He created one of the best moments. And I do think there is cause to say that, you know what, with the fixtures coming up, I'm not looking at Nottingham Forest as a tough game as everyone is. I'm looking at it as an opportunity. I'm looking at it as an opportunity to prove everybody wrong and to show them that we are not as bad as people make us out to be, that we are going to now kick on. And this Nottingham Forest game could be an opportunity to galvanize everybody, especially the fans. We're at home. The players, Odegaard is supposed to be back. Saka should be fit. Rice hopefully can be on the pitch. With us at our best,
so you got a full strength 11.
I think with us at our best, we still are a scary team. And maybe I'm a little bit hyping myself up here, but forget about the transfer window. Arsenal need to fix themselves in-house, fix our attack, fix our midfield, get ourselves playing positive football again, and everything will be all right.
Egal, who have you got? You've got midweek Champions League. Who are you playing midweek?
Sporting.
Gyokeres is going to be. I think they play Friday as well. I think they play tomorrow, don't they? Sporting.
Yeah, we're playing away.
So we're playing away in Portugal. I don't want to get away from the weekend. We're going too far ahead here. Who else
Exactly.
agrees?
Game
Who
by
else?
game.
Who else agrees with Henry that Forest can't be over? Is it? Is this a? And we know it's a potential banana skin, but Kate, will it be a banana skin for Arsenal?
Yes. That was Jim shouting yes. Well, we hope so. I mean, I think the last time I was on the terrace, it's been a few weeks. It feels like a lifetime because I had Egal chirping away that Arsenal were going to win the league and Arteta is the best thing since sliced bread. And today he sits here a broken man, a shadow of himself. But look,
We're 9
it's
points behind Liverpool. What do you expect me to do? Dance and cry?
all right. Tell to the jam out of your donut. Bloody hell.
Arnie's laughed by the sounds of it.
Look,
Yeah,
it all depends which Arsenal turn up. If they do what Tottenham tend to do and think they can just turn up and overturn Forest, then there's a potential that they're going to get sort of found out. But on paper, Arsenal should win it. But I will be praying and watching.
What do you think is going to happen? Don't do the sitting on the fence thing.
Well, if I had to do a score, I have done. I'm just going to look at my pad. I've done Arsenal to win 3-1, but I pray that they don't.
I think it'd be
But
closer.
it is a potential banana skin. I mean, Nuno, what a manager he is. Don't know why Spurs have never looked at him.
I know some people. I know some people would just say we just need to win, but I just need to see a really good performance.
You need to win as well.
You just need to win.
Yeah, you do.
No, I know you just need to win, but I also want to see a good performance because I want to see that there's something to build off.
No, I agree. No, I agree with Egal. I think Arsenal need more than a win. I think they need a win and a performance. I understand the need for 3 points is essential, but I think their team's got to start building up a bit of confidence. This is a team, barring the League Cup game. I don't know if people are aware of this. They won one football match, a very scrappy 1-0 against Shakhtar in all of their games between the last two international breaks. One win.
But they're scary.
And they were, Kate.
They're scared. They're scared bad now.
They've not been, they need to get back to being scared. They need to get back. And we all, listen, we can all sit there and pretend because they're down in the dumps. There was a 2-year period where, barring when they came to White Hart Lane or they came to St James's Park, even when they came to Old Trafford, we got results. We all knew watching Arsenal for a good 2 years. The last 2 years, the majority of the time they've passed well, attacked well, been dangerous. And something in the last 6 to 7 weeks has not been there. So I agree with Egal 100%. Arsenal need to win, and I think they need to win with a bit of swagger to send a message out, because it's that performance that will get into the dressing rooms of other teams. Scraping a 1-0 win, people will go, they're gettable. They need to go there, put 3 goals past Forest, keep a clean sheet, look dominant, and they need to send a message, in my opinion. I think they really, really need to send a message, Arsenal.
I'd be shocked if that was the type of performance you got against Forest, though. I think Forest beat my team this year.
They're the only team to beat you.
They're also above you in the table.
Defensive team in the league as well.
They're 11 on points. They're behind us.
Oh, well, they were above you until Chelsea, and they have, as Henry said, the second best defense in the league. They've got a really good partnership there. Chris Wood is now, for some reason, scoring goals in the Premier League, which he didn't really do much of for the past 4 years, but he's finally figured that out now. And they are a team. I'm not saying they are going to play Arsenal off the park, but they are a team that buys into what their manager is telling them to do. They can be stubborn. They can be annoying to play against. And they're up against an Arsenal team now, which by all admissions are low on confidence. If they start kicking Arsenal about everywhere, if they start, slowing that game down, angering the fans, doing everything in the shithouse book to slow that game down and turn it on its head to their side of things, I don't think Arsenal are necessarily going to create many open play chances as it is. I don't think Arsenal are doing that at the minute. I don't think that's all of a sudden going to be change.
No. I think you're mistaken. I think it's the opposite. We create the chances. We just miss them.
You created them against Inter.
We missed probably the second or third most big chances in the league, maybe. I think because we create a lot of chances, we just miss them, and or the goalkeeper stands on their head. That's the issue. We're going to create chances at home. We're going to get opportunities to score. We're going to get.
You are conceding goals at home, though.
It's how clinical we are. That's the thing, Tom. I don't think it has to do with the lack of creativity. we got Odegaard back. We got Saka on the pitch, bro. We're creating chances. It's just, can these guys finish those chances?
Yeah, I mean, XG wise, Arsenal have this 8th best in the league. They're behind.
How many chances have we missed? Big chances in the league.
Big chances missed.
Go on. If you go on any site, you'll probably see.
Egal, does Odegaard coming back into the team?
You've missed as many big chances as Liverpool have this season.
But does Odegaard change you missing chances? I think Odegaard will come in and the press will be better because he leads it. I think there'll be a bit of a buzz around the Emirates, but Odegaard's not going to fix you missing chances.
Hang on, so 1 second, guys, I want to slow this down a second. So Tom, where are you getting at? So the this one I want to be sure we'll all look at the same information. The XG website I'm on,
What one are you on? I wasn't on that one.
Okay, so hang on. So understat.com, it has Liverpool top with an XG of 24. Man City second with an XG of 23.8. Yours is 24.6. Tottenham a third with 23.1. Arsenal are then fourth on 21.8. So behind the others, but no, I only want to do.
It's different models, isn't it?
Hang on, because this is what I'd say about being 8th, right? We're very early in the season. How far are they behind 4th or 1st? Like, what's the differential? I think that's when it comes to those kind of stats. I think you have to look at the differential, if that makes sense.
Behind 4th, which is Chelsea, they are 2.7. No, 2.6. Sorry, 2.6
in totality. Yeah,
between 4th and 8th, which is where they are, it's 2.6.
Okay, cool. Okay. How can there be 2 different models of XG? I don't understand.
There's loads of different ones. Everyone has a different one. So, like my one, I'm on FOTMob.
So they're all bollocks then, because they should all be the same, shouldn't they? If they use it, how can you?
It's all different algorithms, isn't it?
What I mean is, right, is generally speaking, you might be out by 1 or 2, but a header's a header, a tackle's a tackle, a shot on target, a shot. How can XG be so different from one another? Because this has them ahead of Chelsea by nearly 2. The difference is mad.
And what I'm looking at has Arsenal behind Brentford and Man United and Bournemouth.
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking at.
Man United are really low. Man United are low. We're on 19, but they're only 2 behind Arsenal. But yeah, we're quite low.
But how does Odegaard coming in change that?
Bro, I don't think you realize.
How does he get you scoring goals?
I don't think you realize Odegaard does so much for us. One, he leads the press and he's the first line of defense. Number one. Number two, he's one of the most creative players on the pitch whenever he's on the pitch, and he creates double the opponent's created chances. So he gives us more opportunities to score goals. Yes, he might not be finishing it, but if you create more chances, you're gonna have, and you're missing a lot of chances. At least you have a better chance of scoring now that you're creating more chances. There's 2 more parts also. He's a massive leader on the pitch, and then the final thing I would say is he's a safety blanket. He allows us to hold on to possession a lot easier with him on the pitch rather than anybody else, be it Trossard, be it Ethan, because he's a safe pair of hands and people can't take the ball off him as easy as other players. Whenever he has the ball, it's almost like a safety blanket. You just give it to him whenever you're in trouble, and he's able to turn and create something out of nothing.
So are you saying it's no excuses this weekend?
Martin Odegaard has to be our savior at this moment in time.
So if you've got your best 11 available possible, obviously you will have some injuries, and you don't beat Forest,
bro. If we get a draw versus Forest, forget about the league, bro. We have too many. We have to start looking at why are we dropping so many points at home versus teams that are not better than us. I understand versus Bournemouth. Guess what? Bournemouth, you got a red card. Brighton, you got a red card. Liverpool, we almost beat them. We should have beat them. Man City, we almost beat them. We should have beat them. Where's the mentality that we had the last couple of years where it didn't matter until the last second and look like we're going to win? I seen that versus Chelsea. I kind of seen that a little bit versus Inter. So maybe it's starting to come back. But I'm saying to you right now, forget about the league title. We just need to get a good performance, win, and start getting good spirit around the team. Because I think the club and the manager and the team still think they can get back into this title race, but they need to show it with their performances to put belief back into the fan base. Because I think maybe a big portion of the fan base right now are not thinking about the league title. They're just thinking about get us a win, get us a result, show us what you're made of, so we can start so we can start believing in silverware again.
I think Arsenal just needs to. No, we got new manager, mate. We're not.
No,
we're
no,
just
but
here
like,
for the
all
ride.
right,
all jokes
We're here for
you
the
guys
ride,
are-
mate.
you
Don't
must,
worry.
you must
guys
be
are playing
sitting
the
there
underdog.
thinking,
You guys
We're
are
here
playing
for
the
the
underdog.
ride.
City at the moment, for the first time in Pep's career, they've lost 4 in a row. Arsenal low in confidence, struggling. You know, they only just about beat Shakhtar and they've conceded goals. I mean,
Hey.
you must be sitting. Hang on, we've just spanked Leverkusen. We've just beat Villa, and there's no there's not a huge amount of internal pressure from
You
Liverpool
know what?
fans saying,
Let me
we
give you
must
glass
win
half
the
full.
league. Like it's just go
Henry,
We
on.
got no. We got no
Henry,
pressure.
let me
We got no
give
pressure.
you guys. Let me give
Oh.
you guys the glass half full. The thing that
What
I've
is?
been saying all international break. How about this? We've played Liverpool away. I mean Liverpool at home. We played Man City away. We played Tottenham away. We played Aston Villa away. Newcastle away. Chelsea away. We've gotten a lot of tough away grounds out of the way. Now the second half of the season, we're doing a title charge. We have to. We need to go and find a
Title
way
charge.
to get a result against these teams.
One a
at
title
home.
charge.
Egal, they could be like
And
15.
and
That's
we
on
and we
board.
have
Title
easier
charge
fixtures.
incoming.
We have easier fixtures. I know you got it might be no game is easy. You guys are gonna say, but with the games remaining and a lot of these tough games out of the way, we should be able to get. We should have an easier route to trying to win
Do
it.
you
now.
know what it is though, Egal? In the 2 years that have been,
It's just
and
unfortunate.
gone,
We need Liverpool to drop points.
Yeah. I just look at it in the sense of yes, you've got a lot of the tough away games out the way, but I would say in the last 2 years, your record against the top teams was quite good. It was certainly better. I mean, City had a really bad one last year. We weren't great. I think you had the best record out the title challenges against the big teams last year, and I think I might be wrong because I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the year before you would also play it again. What's done Arsenal in the past couple of years hasn't necessarily been not winning the games against the big teams. It's fucking it up against the smaller teams that you should beat. And that's the run that you've got now in December off the back of a period of time where the confidence is low already. That's where the banana skins and that's where the oohs are going to come from. Not because I think if you had United away, I would rather you have West Ham away than United away. I would rather you have a team that's a bit lower down the table, like a Fulham, than a United or a Chelsea, because Arsenal can get themselves up for them games, but it's them other types of games
I think you're
where
actually mistaken.
you've slipped up in the past, and that's what sticks in my head with it. This
One
one that
second.
you got coming up is
We
a bit
might have
dodgy
we
on
might
that.
have lost. We might have lost to maybe we might have dropped points or drawn maybe a couple games against smaller teams. But out of the top teams, we either win or we get a draw. We don't lose against the top teams, but a draw is still not good enough. A draw versus Liverpool at home was not good enough. A draw versus Man City in the position that we were in is still drop points. And in this situation where we're 9 points behind Liverpool, I would rather play some of the Ipswich. I'd rather play Ipswich away like you did, Wolves away like you did, Crystal Palace away like you did. Going forward,
They also played United away.
Going forward.
You better win.
I'm saying I'd rather play those teams going forward than playing Aston Villa, Tottenham, and Man City like I have.
You are right in that. The only difference being is there's a 9-point gap, so there is now more pressure. You know, we spoke about the new Champions League format, and some teams have played a lot of hard teams at the beginning. You know, you could argue that the Real Madrids and the sort of Bayern Munichs have done that. They played a lot of difficult teams. And yes, they should now win their remaining fixtures against the easier sides. But some of those bigger teams, I think PSG might be one of them. Some of them are not even in the playoff area. So suddenly there's now more pressure and jeopardy in those games because they're more must win, where if they'd have won all their other games and they were sitting second, they'd have gone into those games semi-relaxed. And I think that's the difference now. There is more pressure on Arsenal in these games because yes, you're expected to win. Yes, you should win on paper. But now it's if we don't, we go 12 points behind. 15 points behind. So that's what makes it really intriguing. Before we go on to some of the other games, I did want to have a question. I saw this today on socials and I shared it. And I'm going to ask you all the question. Viewers, I'm going to ask you this question as well before we go to some of your super chats. Magic wand time. You can sign either of them for your team today. Then they would join straight away and be with you for 5 years. If you had a choice right now between Viktor Gyokeres and Erling Haaland, which of the two would you buy? I'm going to go to Toon Tactics first on this.
I feel like it's a trick question, but Haaland.
100% Haaland. The man, as you've said for a number of years, Terry, the man is finishing at a level only comparable to R9. If I can put that in my team, I would put that in my team every day of the week. Gyokeres has been very good, but there's a lot of unknowns with Gyokeres. Erling Haaland is about as proven a goal scorer and as proven a top number 9 as you can get on the market. If I can have him, I'm taking him every day of the week. What are we doing?
Now, laughing at this, Terry would take Haaland, yeah. I'm asking because we all know how good Erling Haaland is. But I tweeted this earlier. For some reason, my initial, sometimes in life they say go with your gut. I've never said a bad thing against Erling Haaland. I got laughed at when I said he would break Mo Salah's single season record. I've been laughed at for defending him that he's not a League 2 level footballer. I think he's amazing. I've been laughed at for saying the best finisher since R9. But my initial gut feeling was, get Gyokeres, get Viktor. Just something about maybe the fact that he's better in the approach play, and maybe my club needs a better, I think because my club needs a better floor of technical ability. I feel like if Haaland played for Man United in this last couple of years, he'd score goals. But I still think he'd go 4, 5, 6 games without scoring because we don't have the technical floor to get the ball into that area. So I think I see it differently. And maybe if my team was technically more rounded, I'd go, just put Haaland in there, put the ball in the back of the net. That's my only rationale. But you'll be very careful when you say this because certain people take it as an insult to Erling Haaland. But I love the geezer. I won't have a bad word said about him. But I feel like my gut just literally, I heard a little voice come out of my belly. It just went, Viktor, like that. And I'm like, oh,
Terry, you know what it is?
Where's that come from?
You view him as a future Man United player, potentially.
Maybe.
You're already getting ready for the argument.
Well, he definitely reject us for anybody else in the Prem, 100%. He'd reject you for anyone else in the Prem.
Because of Ruben Amorim, right?
And we're Man United, yes.
No, it would be because of the relationship with the manager.
Partly, but it's because we're Man United.
So hang on. If City don't have Haaland, you think he chooses you lot over City?
Who?
So if City, let's say Haaland leaves Man City next summer.
Yes.
And
with a combination of Amorim being here and who we are, I'm going to make this claim now as well, so everyone knows. Man United under Ineos and this new manager, we are going to start cooking over the course of the next 2 to 3 years. We are getting back to the very least competing for league titles. It's happening.
Oh my God. It's happening again. It's Erik ten Hag again.
No, Tom. I am not letting you lie about me because what's the first thing I mentioned? Was it the manager or was it who's running us in the structure?
You said the ownership.
And I never honestly think he chooses you over City if they don't have Haaland.
Yes.
Terry. I think you're also factoring in that Man City would not be willing to spend as much as you. That's what you're saying?
So let's say hypothetically, Egal, Manchester City sell Haaland to Real Madrid. Forget the fee. They would go out and break the bank for Gyokeres. It doesn't matter how they would go out and put whatever money on a checkbook. And if they could do the league title this year, there is no way.
I think Man City have a line, and if Manchester United cross it, they will get the player.
I look. It's funny. Yella Dean always tells me off for not being a positive Man United fan. Now he's calling me off for being a positive Man United fan. That's how you know a troll. My view is very much this. Man United are a beautiful and magical club in the eyes of most professional football players. Rivals, of course, you view us differently. I get it. I don't expect.
I don't know about that, Terry.
Of Man United, are you telling me that Man United are part of a very elite group of football clubs? Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Man United, Liverpool, who are not just, and we're talking about the way we're viewed overall. The last 11 years have not been good, but that historic draw we have is something special. I believe, this is why I think Gyokeres will pick us. Between now and the summer, everybody's going to start to see the work and the labor and the prep that's been put in by Ineos. And I'll use Newcastle as a case in point here. Newcastle changed manager quicker than we did, and I still think that's the only mistake they've really made so far. But there was a seismic change when the new ownership got in. They brought their man in, and it wasn't just because Eddie Howe was better at tactics than Steve Bruce. It's because the ethos of the football club changed. And I believe we're going to start to see that with Manchester United. If the feel-good factor comes back, and then we go in for players and they can see, fucking hell, there's real direction change. They no longer have an accountant and a bank manager running the football club, we're a hugely attractive proposition. Now, like I said, with Gyokeres, us or Man City, I said between it being us and the relationship he already has with Ruben, so I'm factoring that in to the conversation. Yes, I'd be confident of us signing Gyokeres over every other single Premier League team come this summer, especially with the fact I think we're going to improve massively on the pitch.
But you have hopes that everything's going to go right. That's basically what you're saying.
I don't have hope. I am very, very confident that Man United over the next. Let me make the statement. I am very confident that over the next 3 years, Man United will get back to challenging for Premier League titles with the way we're now structured.
Based on what evidence?
Based on the fact that every well-structured club with good, high-quality football decision makers that has the type of budget Man United does yields at least challenging for league titles in that period. There is no example of a club being run well without money, with key football decision makers in place who foul on a regular basis.
Are you basically saying you think Manchester United are going to be one of the best run clubs in the league?
Over the next 2 to 3 years, yes, we will be. We've already started. We've already started being run well.
So you think you're going to be better run than Liverpool, who already have a better squad than you?
I didn't say better run than them. I didn't say we'd win the league. I said compete for the title. Let's be very careful with my wording here.
So you're saying like top 3 finish?
Liverpool, yeah, in and around. Again, it could be top 3, top 4, but we'll be in the title race. You don't know how good everybody is. Like end of the day, Liverpool won't become a worse run football club because Man United are run better. City won't become a worse run football club because we're run better. We will just be better run. And if over the last 11 years, we didn't have bank managers and accountants running our club, we wouldn't be where we are today. And this is, for me, this is what's been ignored by Man United fans for 11 years. Yes, some managers have sucked. Yes, some signings have been crap. But it's because people that weren't qualified to run the club were running it. At the end of the day, if you hire a plasterer to do your heart surgery, you're fucked, bruv. And we no longer have that situation at Man United. So my confidence isn't misguided. We may not even work with Ruben Amorim, but we will get it right because we have key decision makers at the club who are now experienced at football. And football is now the sort of primary focus when it comes to decision making. It isn't profit followed by football. It's we want to be the best football team in the country. How do we get there? That has not been our focus for over 11 years now. And Newcastle fan here will attest. As soon as that changed at Newcastle, they shot up the league. Liverpool fans will attest. FSG come in, completely different outlook to Hicks and Gillette, shot up the league. You would say this, the Cronkies took over full time. Josh Kroenke came in. Football became more of a focus. You shut up the league. I'm not going to use Spurs as an example, but everybody, the other examples are there, right? So why, when Man United suddenly get a new focus, football decision makers in that are putting football first, why is it that we shouldn't expect or feel that we could go in that same direction?
I think the answer to that might be why. Maybe because I'm a bit older, I've seen Man United run well. Like I've seen those times, I've experienced those times. So what Terry is saying to me isn't out of the ordinary. I've seen, for instance, Newcastle's perspective, we've been 12 points up ahead of them. They caught up with us and won the league. I've seen them dominate the league and win trebles. I've seen them run well, get player after player, academy players coming in and being superstars, David Beckhams and all the other stuff. And so when they're saying we're getting run well and we can see ourselves competing for the league in the next year and a half, 2 years, it's not out of this world. And I think rival fans, maybe perhaps a little bit younger than myself or whatnot, and are finding the stages of grief with Man United a little bit difficult to accept. You're in denial at the moment that you don't think that no matter what structure, no matter what manager or whatnot, that they're still going to be awful and bad. But I think you just got to get to the process of acceptance that they've actually identified what their issues are. They've partly solved it through their ownership, but that's in a phase process. I think they'll end up leaving eventually. But they've got a new board in. They've now got a new manager in, and their fans are on song. And the problem for some of rival fans who haven't really made hay while Man United and others have been gone, you haven't really taken advantage of it. So the problem is now some of your Champions League spots are going to be taken. Some of your trophies are going to be taken because you haven't taken advantage. So I think maybe because, like I said, because I've seen it, I'm far more willing to accept that they will get better. I don't really see the issue of what was said really in regards to that.
United will eventually get it right. United, two bigger clubs, to not eventually get it right. I just don't think it's going to happen as quick as 2-3 years. I think that it's
to-
going to be closer to 4 or 5. I think.
to challenge for the league.
I think to be in a
They challenge under Oli basically. If you're going to challenge
to be in a title race, I think it's going to take United closer to 5 years than 2-ish. I
Two years
think...
is 4 transfer windows. It's not gonna. It's
Yes,
in four transfer windows, you can spend. I know Man United aren't going to spend that much, but you can still spend between 300 to 500 million. You can still get things right. They've got an incredible academy as well. Why would it take 4 or 5 years?
Because that squad is too bloated, and there's too much dead wood. That I think, yes, United are good at moving players on. They have done in the past, but there are certain players, and I think certain sections of this group of players are just stuck at Man United. I don't see
challenge with dead wood.
I don't see how, for example, I'm just going to name 3 players here. I don't see how Anthony gets moved on this summer because I don't know who is going to pay for him. I don't see how Mason Mount gets moved on this summer, and I don't know who's going to pay for him. I don't see how.
Why
Harry
does that
Maguire,
affect him competing for the league, though?
Because it's a basis of, yes, Man United have a bigger threshold for the likes of PSR, but they have been close to it a couple of times recently. Hence why there have been windows and there have been instances where fucking Weghorst was their only signing because they were running that close to the line that they couldn't go any bigger to try and make that move earlier. So if United can't move on these £80 million flops, these £60 million flops, these £75 million flops.
Players, bro. Tom, they're not like us. They're not like Arsenal and Liverpool. Arsenal and Liverpool.
No, Egal, because you're going on a different point. You're going on a different point. Yes, they're not like us because we need to sell the players that we buy because that is the only way we make the money. United don't need to do that. I'm on about the simple fact of the squad is too big. The squad is too bloated. If they if they can't move on certain players, they are eventually just going to, for a pure matter of fact, run out of registration space.
But Tom, I understand what you're saying, but I understand why that's the key factor for them not competing. Out of all the other things they've got right, why why Anthony and a couple of other players is an issue for them to compete? Because they can, someone will pay for Anthony. It's not a problem. They can loan him out. Terminate his contract.
United aren't going to terminate his contract, though. I just don't see a world where the United are able to move on some of these players in a logical way. Let's spend 80 million for Anthony. Even if they were to terminate his contract, it's still on the books that they spent that much on Anthony. It will still have.
Yeah, that's it.
It will still have an impact.
This is denial. You're in denial.
It's not denial. Would be me saying they're never going to come back. I accepted that United are going to be there. Yeah. I'm actually. I hate the fact United have got Amorim. Because he was the guy I wanted before Arnie Slot.
This is why you're really angry. Because Tom went viral. Man had red marks on his knees for days of how much he wanted Amorim, and now he's a proper red.
The thing I understand that Amorim is probably United's best chance of getting back there because he's the manager that I've seen them hire, who I think has got the most amount of pedigree about himself and can handle a Manchester United dressing room, can handle all the pressure of being a Manchester United manager. But I just don't think that squad is going to be turned around enough in 3 years.
Maybe.
Go on. Sorry.
I don't think that squad's. I don't think that squad's a top 4 squad at the minute, and I don't think with what other team. Is this squad right now? Is this squad right now a top 4 squad?
That same squad was top 4 2 years ago. That same squad won domestic trophies.
But that was again. That was the same season when they got top 4 a year where Tottenham, Chelsea, and Liverpool all fell out the top 4.
So it's there. It's back to denial again.
Fair enough. Terry, earlier.
So it's not us. It's you.
Earlier, Terry.
Man United make the top 4 this year. It will be it's only because Arsenal and Chelsea fell off.
If Man United make the top 4 over Arsenal or Chelsea, it's a failure.
I understand that, but
I don't think
Man United are the only team. Man United are the only team I've ever seen in Premier League history come second or third, and everybody say false position. It's the only time I've ever seen it be said. It's crazy. It's ridiculous.
I look at it on the basis if I compare squad for squad, every team in the Premier League, I don't think Manchester United have the 4th best squad in the league.
I
don't think Manchester United have the 5th best squad in the league.
But you think we've got the 2nd best manager in the league?
He's one of the best. I wouldn't say he's second. He's certainly up
can
there.
that can be a factor. On that, what's the score going to be, Kate, this weekend? Ipswich versus Manchester United.
I'd love to see Ipswich turn you over because they're such a brilliant side, as we all know. I am going to go 3-1 United.
Egal?
Terry, you guys are going to get on a roll. I'm going to say 2-0 to United.
Henry?
I'm going to go with Kate 3-1.
Like that. What are you saying, Toon Tactics?
Yeah, 3-0.
3-0. And Bitty McBitterness, what are you saying?
I'll lean into it. 2-0 Ipswich. How about that?
I like it.
2-0 Ipswich.
I like it. Look, viewers, get us in your predictions right now. Sully here says, in 2 years, United will be in a better position than Liverpool. I'm 100% sure of that. Amorim will improve those players plus additions.
But are we also, are Liverpool just going to sit on their arse for 2 years and do nothing? And not
No,
try
that's
and improve their squad? It's the thing that sticks in my head.
If Amorim is backed, then yeah, we're coming for 21. I hope so. And make sure the viewers are hitting that like button. Another team that must win this weekend, in my opinion, is Chelsea, Henry. How do you think Chelsea will get on in their game?
It's Leicester away, isn't it? I think they'll bounce back and win. I've had a few draws recently, haven't they, against Forest and United and Arsenal. I think they'll win. I do want to see Cole Palmer step up though, because the last few games he's been,
it's not a good team, so he might well do.
Well, yeah. I mean, they're going to be heavily reliant on him. I think they'll win. I'm going to go with 2-0 Chelsea. I think if they don't win this game and teams around them win, I mean, the Premier League at the moment is so fine margin that I think there's 4 points between 13th and 3rd. I think Chelsea will win. I think they have to win. If Leicester and Vardy, and I know they've got some good players, and is it Mavididi, the winger, and Vardy's always a threat in the box. We found out that this season, but yeah, I'm going to go 3-1 Chelsea.
I'm looking at Chelsea and I'm saying Maresca is going up against his old team. He knows these guys so well. He's going to smash Leicester. Chelsea's going to beat Leicester maybe 4-0. The fact that you have the manager who knows all the players. I've gone up against Unai Emery when he knew all our players. The guy bossed us. I expect Maresca to boss these guys around. He knows these players as well as their new manager. He probably knows them better than his new manager, and I expect him to probably get the better of them. I expect Chelsea to have probably one of their bigger score lines of the season.
I think this could be really long for Leicester just because of the squad situation they've got. Buenanote, who's been their best player this season, is suspended. So straight away, their best attacker is not available to play. Vardy's nursing an injury. Jordan Ayew's nursing an injury. The really right winger, the young one, Fatawu, he's just done his ACL, so he's out for the rest of the season. So they're really struggling for any sort of attack. Defensively, they're not being great anyway. But the fact that they now don't have any sort of bar Mavididi, who is seemingly just sort of in and out with Steve Cooper at the minute, there's not really any attacking threat in that Leicester team. So therefore, there's no outlet, and this is a chance for Chelsea to really box a team in and pin them back and just go and put... it's going to come down to how clinical they are, but I think this could be a really bad scoreline for Leicester. I just think that Chelsea have caught... Mind you, there's not really a bad time to play Leicester with the state of their squad, but they've caught them at the best time because there's a massive problem going forward. Massive. I think it'll be like 5-6-0.
Wow.
6-0?
Really, yeah. I mean, Leicester last game, I mean, they conceded 5 to United in the Cup. Then they conceded 3 to United last game before the international break. They conceded 4 to Arsenal. And I think Chelsea, when they get going, are one of the best attacking teams in the league.
6 at the King Power, though.
Yeah.
Nah.
We are talking about the same Leicester that are going to end up playing Connor Cody and Wout Fires as a centre-back partnership, aren't we?
Yeah, but how many big defeats have they had at home this season? All their big defeats away from home.
Then Arsenal beat them 5-2 or something at the King Power.
That
was the
that was
score?
at the Emirates.
That was at Emirates.
But
Oh.
I don't think that home power is
And
going
they
to
beat
be enough.
Bournemouth recently at home, Tom.
What one? Yeah, but the guy who scored is spent. This is the thing. They've got no outlet. They've got no out ball. Anyone who's any of a threat is not available. So if they can't get out, they're going to be boxed in. The advantage they had at home is they can pin teams back, and because they've got young attackers like Fatawu and Buonanotte, they've got no fear, and they'll go and play, and they'll go and try and go for it. I think their front three, just by what I've seen, is going to be Wilfred Ndidi, Jamie Vardy, and if Steve Cooper's not got an issue with him, Mavididi. If Steve Cooper does have an issue with him, then it's going to end up being probably Bobby Deco Dover Reed. But he didn't even know he was at Leicester now. But he's at Leicester now.
He couldn't even get a game at Fulham.
That's the state of their attack. I think it could just be an absolute whitewash for Chelsea against Leicester. It's so bad, the situation Leicester are in fitness-wise.
Yeah, but 6-0 is a little bit
excessive.
If Palmer's on it, he gets 2.
To be fair, they put 6 past 2.
They put 6 past Wolves. They put 4 past Brighton. Chelsea score goals. Chelsea score goals.
Chelsea score goals, but they got their captain keeps missing games, Reece James. I think that guy's gonna get sold.
He's made of glass.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Reece James has got to move. I agree. I was listening to you guys, just sorting the kids out. Excuse me. I think they're going to score 3 or 4 goals. Chelsea. I really do. I think. Look, we put 5 past them in the League Cup. I know we were at home. We put 3 past them in the league, and it probably should have been more. Chelsea are more well-oiled than we are. They're attacking very well. And they a bit like Arsenal, didn't have that many great results in that last little batch of games between international breaks. And I think they'll have the bit between their teeth. And yeah, I think everything you said, I think it was Egal, about how much Maresca knows these players. He'll know their weaknesses. He'll know their problems. Yeah, I honestly think 3 or 4-0 in this game for Chelsea. And I don't even think it's going to be one of them games as rivals. It will get to about 60 minutes and you'll all start doing something else because the game will be finished and there'll be nothing else. You'll leave it on in the background in case Leicester get a goal back, but you'll be, I don't know.
There's only one hope for Leicester.
Jim and Kate will getting the lunch on. You know, Henry will be shaving his legs for his night out and whatever else is going on. Like it will be everyone will be busy. Everyone will be busy.
There's only one choice. There's only one way Leicester do anything. That goalkeeper has one of the greatest games in Premier League history again. Because that's what he did against Arsenal.
Yeah. Potentially on that. Let's go to some of these super chats here. First one says United fans already counting their chickens. It's not like that. It's not what I'm doing. People keep saying to me as well, the manager ain't had a game of football yet. It's nothing to do. It's not directly to do with Amorim. And I'm very consistent in this. For years, I always said our biggest problem was never a player or a manager. It was the way we're run. So now I'm confident because we're being run well. It's just consistency in terms of an opinion I've had for 11 years. Spurs fans on a panel don't give Egal a hard time on Arsenal. It's like me lecturing a billionaire on money. Only Tom and Terry can do that. Cheers, mate. Look at Kate's face.
I just think Arsenal fans come out with such stupid statements, but yeah, crack on.
He's a good guy.
Terry, ask Egal on what advice Mikel Arteta ask Egal, based on what evidence, will Mikel Arteta win the Premier League in future?
There is no evidence. He has to go and do it.
I think this is where Arsenal fans, and it's not the primary thing, but I've listened to you, Gal, and of our Arsenal fans. I think I agree with Kate's earlier point. You guys need to put the jam back in your donut, and you guys need to really step up. Take some advice from Liverpool fans who went 4-0 down to Barcelona and came back. Take some advice from Man United team who was 12 points behind Newcastle and came back and to win the league. There's a point where, and I understand that the team has to show you something, but you, the fans, when the tough gets going, you can't just be, wow, no, they're not going to, it's failed now. It's 11 games in the season. I can't see anything. And, Arteta in, Arteta out. I need to see something because I need them to show me something so I can be happy. I think there's a point where you got to go pull your do something, like just show some heart for your team and that support them. Like I think was it 2 years ago when Brighton were beating you at your home ground and you guys left the stadium 70 minutes into the game, fire drill settings. I couldn't do that to my team, honestly, no matter what happened. I mean, you guys forgotten who you are at times. And you gotta, if the only way to win leagues is to kind of show that kind of heart for your team. That's what it comes down to at times. I've seen worse players. It's not always been the best players that have won the leagues playing for the best teams, but their fans oftentimes pull them through. And this might be a time where you got to do that. So,
bro, I couldn't agree with you more.
But how would you have? 1 second. How would you have answered that question? Because you're basically responding off the back of the question that I answered.
You've just competed twice for the league. You've got incredible players. You've got a good young manager who's not better than Eddie Howe, by the way, but he's a good young manager. And he showed a lot of heart for your team. And you guys are like, you've experienced a little bit of hardship, a couple draws here, and you're already falling off. Like you're it's like, oh, we can't do it anymore. Like you've showed so much in terms of your team, and you're telling me there's literally no evidence. Have you been mid-table these last couple seasons?
No, I'm saying because we've not done it, been there and done it, no matter what.
That's the whole point. He's asking you for evidence to show that you can do it. And I'm saying to you that there is evidence to show that there is.
There is evidence to show
exactly.
that we can do it. But
here we go.
I think the question was, is there evidence that he will do it?
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's going to be Mikel Pochettino.
Yeah. Look, I get where Toon Tactics is coming from. I've been saying it for a few days now. Like the Arteta in out debate, I think, is dead in the sense of
it's dead. Yeah.
The people that no matter what he does, they want him in. Wrong. The people that have knew he'd never win us the league. You also said that he'd never make top four. He'd never win a trophy. He'd never be in a title race. He'd never repeat the title race. So you've been wrong about the majority of it as well. And for me, it's both those groups need to be quiet. And I think you've got to look at what's right for Arsenal. And when I say be quiet, I don't mean you shouldn't have opinions. I think you should put that debate in itself to bed. Because where I agree with Toon Tactics is I don't think that your players need mollycoddling. Oh, it's okay, guys. All right, go again next year. I equally don't think they need to be abused and every pejorative under the sun thrown at them. I don't think either of those two things are going to help you improve your league. I think what they need is criticism and standards wrapped around with support. And I think if you do that with that, I know you can do it approach, maybe show a little bit of chest, maybe show a little bit of, I've seen you guys play much better. Let's get on with it. Maybe you can bridge the gap. Man United, when we caught up Newcastle's 10, 11, 12-point gap, the fans were disappointed to be that far behind, but we got behind the team. We weren't smashing their car windows in and calling them horrible names. We equally weren't saying, it's okay, lads, you won it last year. It's okay to fall off. There was a happy medium. The same as when Arsenal clawed back a 12-point gap over Man United. Your fans buying, there would have been some angry moments, but they weren't attacking your players and managers left, right, and center and getting the banners out then. Equally, they weren't saying, it's all right, guys, we go again next year. I think Arsenal fans have genuinely got to find the middle ground here, have high standards and push for things without being horrible and abusive, but equally stop being so soft and saying, I'm happy just to be entertained now for the rest of the season. I think you've really, just my advice to Arsenal fans, that's what I think you need to do as supporters.
1 second. Terry, I personally think it's a situation where the players on the pitch have to show better performances and demand better performances. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's nothing wrong with demanding. Obviously, if I was going to the game, I'm still going to cheer them on.
No, I get that. I just think I look at your demeanor today, Egal, and it's almost like I
feel, of course, bro. Fucking 9 points behind, Terry. What do you expect?
No.
What do you expect? You want me to sit here and yell?
This is where me and you are different. I would be coming in with the I'm pissed off being 9 points behind. But you know what,
bro? I've been sitting there on international breaks thinking about it.
Let's go win. I want you to win. You should win, but let's have a bit of something about a little something. At the moment, it's
Terry,
limp.
I've been waiting all international break for the game to start. Once the game actually starts, it'll be a different story. But right now, I'm looking at it and I'm saying I just need them to start winning.
No,
I get where Toon Tactics saying, oh, this and that, but hey, Liverpool needs to start dropping points. Man City need to go and beat them next week.
Liverpool to help you win the league.
1 second. Don't be silly, bro. Don't be silly. How are we gonna ever catch up?
Here it goes.
Are we ever gonna catch up if Liverpool don't drop points? What are we talking about here?
Focus on your own game, though.
Everyone in league title history need their title rivals to drop points. Liverpool are not invincible.
Yeah, but you shouldn't be thinking about Liverpool right now. You should be thinking about your team.
What is wrong with you guys? You guys keep
Nothing's wrong.
flipping every 2 seconds and
No,
changing
no,
the
we don't.
conversation.
No, we don't. No, we don't. No, we don't.
No,
We're
1
speaking about
second.
the same thing.
1
You
second,
need
it's
to get
all.
behind your team and show a little bit of chest, show a little bit of standards without being nasty and abusive. You need to get that balance right. But you came into the show, Egal. You were literally, your towel was so far between your legs, it looked like a willy.
They need to make me happy. They need to make me happy. That's all I heard. I was like, wow, bro. Sheesh.
Bro, you guys have been both sad this whole freaking last 4 years. Now you want to chat shit.
There it is. Here we go.
Honestly, listen, you guys just
for me to have to start the season confidence in Arteta by the end of December, we should have finished in the top 8 in the Champions League, stay alive in cups, and win 6 out of our next 7 Premier League games. And you could do that.
Bro, I expect us to win the next couple of Premier League games and get back into this title race. Don't forget that. It's just at this moment in time, I need to see more from my team. That's it.
Kate, who did Ipswich win their first league game against?
Oh no, I was there.
How was it?
But could you remind us who it was, please? Could you say it out loud?
It was us, and it was a wonderful day.
I saw your pictures there with Ozzy Ardilis and the light. It was nice.
Yeah, it was a nice day.
Forbes just said United agree Lewandowski deal. Oh, okay.
You guys had one agreed before and then he had to stay.
Egal, do you realize our football structure caused your club to get rid of Edu? Your owners realize they need to step up their game because Ineos is putting pressure on other big clubs.
So is that a good thing? Yes.
A good thing. I think it's a good thing you got rid of Edu. I agree with that. Terry, United are not in the bracket of Real Madrid's anymore. Not in contemporary sense of challenging, but historically in terms of the prestige, we're 100% we're still in that bracket, my friend. 100% we still are. For the record, I backed Arteta till our loss to Newcastle from that day, from the day we hired him. Terry, please show my oldest super chat stating Arteta needs to do. I've already put that one up, my friend, but thank you very much. The Guna.
I'm just going to say this. I've not lost faith in Arteta or the team. I'm just simply saying I need to see more from them. Like, I don't know why people are making it.
Egal, stop biting.
I can understand why people are feeling a little bit disillusioned with Arteta, though, because the style of football, which is the main complaint I've seen, it's so pragmatic.
No, I understand that.
Changed his approach.
I understand. I understand that, but I don't think when you're disillusioned, I don't think the approach is just I'm just not going to bother. I think you got to show some fight as fans. Speaking of fight, before the end of the show, Man City played Tottenham. Kate, you got to play the champions. You could make it 5 defeats on the bounce for them. Will you do that at the Etihad this weekend?
No, I don't think so. I'd love to say yes. We're terrible away from home. Absolutely diabolical away from home at the minute. I can't see anything but a City win. There's rumours that they've got Kevin De Bruyne back. John Stones coming back. We've got Bentancur out, Van der Ven's out, Romero might be out, Kulu might be out. It doesn't bode well.
Who are you going to play? You've got no one.
We did it last year, though, Tom. We had 4 fullbacks last year.
Yeah, we did. I can't see anything other than City beating us. I don't think
the problem this time will be Dragisin will play, and I don't think he's very good.
The weird thing about Dragusin is a couple of times I've said he's been good, but I just don't think he really fits the system. But then we've got quite a few players who I'm not sure fit the system. So, but I'm going in expected to lose. So anything other than a loss will be a result. But we'll see.
But just to put that.
I don't think Dragusin's
just to put this out there. So Spurs is injured. This is on whoscored.com. So I'm going by theirs. Van der Ven's out. Wilson
Odegaard.
He's out. Richarlison, Bentancur. Says Mickey Moore's doubtful. Then Romero and Werner are doubtful. But City's list includes Rodri, Oscar Bob, Diaz, Akanji, Grealish, all out and doubtful. Akanji, Stones, Doku, Nunez, Foden, all down as doubtful as well. So they're going to have an injury list somewhere near the same size as yours, though.
But Grealish and Doku and De Bruyne and someone else you said are all expected to be back. But It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at the minute. Oh, I don't even know what to say about Spurs at the minute. All I know is if we lose, the meltdown on YouTube will be even more monumental than it has been for the last 2 weeks.
You know, I have a hot take on Tottenham.
I
and I
like
said at the
One thing,
beginning-
guys, I want to say one thing.
Oh,
Man City have just pulled off a masterstroke. Guardiola signs a new contract the day before they play us.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
It's
been announced.
It's 2 days before you don't play on tomorrow.
Sorry, Saturday. I think it's Friday. That's perfect for them.
Also, Rodri's going to come out holding his Ballon d'Or, get the crowd up.
Their morale is going to, even though they've just lost 4 in a row, they're going to be thinking we're the champions.
What position does Morale play?
Is Morale going to help them defensively? Because they can see a lot of goals, don't they?
I think Kate is right. Like I did my Premier League predictions earlier, and I actually predicted a 2-2 draw. And that was before I found out that Romero and Van der Ven were both
You've got
out.
a lot of jam on your donuts, haven't you? A lot of confidence there, 2-2.
The thing is, we turned up there last year with a back four of Davis, Royale, Porro, and dodgy. And we had a lot. You could argue a hell of a lot more weakened squad.
By the
than
way,
it
on the Pep Guardiola news, it's just come out. First of all, they said it was 1 year. Then the media have said that it's 1 year with a following. It's now been redone. It is a new 2-year agreement. He is here until 2027 straight. It's going to be a new 2-year deal.
I wish he'd fuck off. I really do.
Surely that they're going to be walking into the ground tomorrow thinking our manager's going to be prepared to stay with us regardless of this court case. Rodri brings out his shiny Ballon d'Or. Tottenham are going to have a makeshift back four. Haaland's going to be licking his lips. They've got to be thinking we are right up for this. But we've got to be thinking. The thing is, we've got Fulham away, Fulham at home, and Bournemouth away coming up. And like Kate said, our away record is absolutely diabolical. We've lost to Brighton. We've lost to Crystal Palace. We've lost to Newcastle. I think the only away game we've won in the league this season is Man United.
Henry,
We drew with Leicester.
Henry, you're gonna have a good January. Your manager's gonna be gone by then. Don't worry.
Do you know what? Right, I saw a thread earlier on Twitter, and I think if we lose this game, Chelsea, Bournemouth, Fulham, all coming up next. It's going to be a Spurs thing that Tottenham will get a result on Saturday.
Let's get it.
I don't think Angie's going anywhere anytime soon anyway.
Hey, you might be mistaken because
I might, obviously.
I'm looking at
We all
Tottenham. I'm looking at Tottenham losing to Crystal Palace and Ipswich. Much worse teams than you guys, much worse squads than you guys. And now it's a situation where you're looking at the manager. You're like, you dropped off at the back end of last season. You started off the season quite poor. You're also in the Europa League where you're supposed to do well. You're rotating your team against big opponents in the Europa League where you should be testing yourself in a competition where you want to win. If he gets knocked out of the League Cup, or he gets knocked out in the FA Cup, you pretty much are going to be down to one more competition that you can try to win. I don't think you guys are going to be competitive in both cup competitions in domestically and
you're talking Ipswich
and in Europe. But then here's the main issue. I don't see him as a manager who's able to change the game and get you guys back into games. I'm looking at how you guys start games. You guys start games poor and concede early in about 5 of your games this season. And defensively, with 1 or 2 players out, your defense drops off a cliff. And I'm looking at Ben Davies. I'm looking at Dragusin. I don't even know if Dragusin's that good. Back-to-back errors leading to goals in some of these games.
Funny thing is, Egal, with all these things you're saying about my team, we're still only 3 points behind scary Arsenal.
Guess what? Don't matter because you're irrelevant. And your manager.
Oh, really? Oh, you know a lot about us, though, considering how relevant we are.
Your manager's going to get sacked.
Okay.
And it might actually be good for you guys because hopefully, because the next manager you guys bring in might actually be a little bit better. I think Ange is not. I think Ange and your club don't align because he was thinking he came for a long-term project, and I really do think some of the players and the fans are going to give up on him very soon. And the board already talking about backing him during an international break is a kiss of death.
And we've got no Bentancur either, have we? So I don't know what our midfield's going to be either.
Will there not just be Saar, Basuma?
Oh, Basuma's out as well. He's very doubtful.
I was in.
Yeah,
It's probably going to be Madison, Kulu, and Saar.
No, Kulu's doubtful.
Oh,
He's done his shoulder. He went off injured.
You can play Archie Gray in
It's
midfield.
going to be Bergvall. Yeah, I think Archie Gray will come in actually and play in midfield.
Well, why do you think Ange is going to stay? If you start losing, he's going to lose. He's going to be gone.
Because Egal, let me explain
he's a
to you.
yes
We
man.
don't win anything ever. So why sack him? What's the benefit? We're still in all the cup competitions as it stands, right? So why bother sacking him? We're not got no chance in the league. He needs to put his eggs in one basket and go for the cups. I don't see the point. Tottenham fans screaming for him to be sacked. Why? The main problem's still there. Daniel Levy's still going to be there. You bring in some other poor sod, the same thing's going to happen. It happens every time.
What managers even are there on the market now?
Exactly. I don't see what the point of sacking him is. Give him to the end of the season and see. But
Ten Hag wins trophies. Ten Hag wins trophies.
Oh, piss off.
If he puts all his eggs in one
He gets
basket,
a year 2 to win a trophy. He can win them in year 1.
if we put all our eggs in one basket and do absolutely everything possible to win a trophy, everyone will get behind him. But it's the results in the league where we're losing Palace and Ipswich.
No, I get that. I look at Spurs this way, and this isn't a dig; it's the truth. If he wins you the League Cup this year, he becomes one of the greatest managers in your club's history and a hero. So he only has to win a League Cup to become a hero. No, that's not a dig; it's the truth. It's the truth. If he wins a league, if he wins a fucking FA Cup, he gets a statue. Like legitimately, if he wins a trophy,
what if he wins the Europa League?
Massive for them.
If he wins the Europa League, I'm running up and down my street naked and getting a great big tattoo of Ange Postecoglou on each of my boobs, just so we know.
Wow.
So that's how likely I think that's going to be. But you never know.
Congratulations. Have a good night for Jimbo. That will, won't it? Jesus Christ. Jimbo will be loving that one. Score predictions for City versus Tottenham. What are you going with, Tom?
I could do with Tottenham getting something out the game. So 1-1.
So what do you think will happen?
What I think will happen is Man City 3-0. But what I want to happen is 1-1.
What are you going with, Kate?
I'm going with 3-1 City.
Egal?
I think it's going to be a closer game than everyone thinks. Maybe 2-1 City.
Henry Wright?
Desmond 2-2.
I
can't believe I'm the one, Kate, at saying that we're going to get something here, by the way.
Toon Tactics?
2-1 Tottenham.
Say that again.
2-1 Tottenham. It'll be a narrow. What I'm thinking of is a very narrow path to victory. I watched Man City on 2 separate occasions, one against Brighton. I can't remember the other team. Literally tail off in the second half. Belieber by himself handled their entire midfield. They just don't have the running power anymore. And Tottenham, for all their failings, do have lots of running power in their midfield. And if you show some resolve and some mentality, and City show the same kind of lack of finishing and conversion in front of the Tottenham goal, you might get a little bit lucky. So I'm going to go for the narrow path to victory for Tottenham, 2-1.
I like it.
I'm going to go with 3-0. City,
What,
of course. Yeah, no, I think City will win. I think they'll end this. I mean, especially the noise that's going to be there now. Their fans are going to be absolutely over the moon right now because, first of all, for a long while, we all thought it was a 1-year extension, then a 1 year with an option. Now he's there for 2 more years. Their fans are going to be going wild. And I just feel sometimes that euphoria, the little break, Spurs being a bit vulnerable. Yeah, I'm going to go 3-0 City in this game. I hope Spurs do win, by the way. I want Spurs to win, but I'm predicting a 3-0 victory for City. Look, I want to thank everybody that has tuned into the show today. It means a great, great deal to us here on the terrace. I want to thank Toon Tactics, Henry, Kate, Egal, and Tom Little for coming on and joining us. To all of our super chatters, you're absolutely amazing. We're back tomorrow with more content for you, including Straight Facts with Staffy and Dan Lawless is his name. So yes, with him. This video is going to take you through to Judge Mo's channel. So go and check out Judge Mo. Go and support him over there. Go and hit the like buttons, etc., etc. Until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we will see you all again very, very soon. Thank you.